Marcus Trescothick raced to the 56th first-class 100 of his career, while James Hildreth struck his 31st as Somerset piled on the runs before collapsing on a very entertaining opening day of the LV County Championship match with Middlesex in Taunton. Adam Voges would possibly live to regret his decision to insert after winning the toss, and Trescothick rolled back the years with some terrific shots from the off. The opener, now in his 40th year, still has the ability to bag plenty of runs, as his 4 tons last year confirmed, but this was just like old times as he got his team off to a bit of a flyer, although not everything came right out of the meat of his chunky blade. The opening stand was worth 50 in 13 overs and was ended when Tom Abel's first innings of the summer finished as he was bowled playing no shot to Tim Murtagh. Abel was on his way for 16 while Tom Cooper followed to the first ball he faced, James Harris's Yorker winning the LBW after hitting the batsman full on the foot. Middlesex would have been pleased with their start now, but Hildreth came in and looked in inspirational form. His 14th delivery was pulled for 6 and he never looked back. The pitch may have been green, but it was quickly playing very well, and Trescothick moved speedily to his first 50 of the season, one which occupied 74 balls and one that was reached with his 11th boundary. At this point in the space of 10 deliveries, 5 fours were struck by these two batsmen. So the runs were coming at a real lick, and by the time lunch arrived, the total read 148 for 2, the runs coming at 5 per over. Trescothick went to the break with 81 under his belt, and Middlesex must have been fearing the worst for the afternoon, especially with the Somerset skipper playing shots like this one off Ollie Rayner. It went all the way for 6. The afternoon session began as the first ended, Hildreth cutting a perfectly good ball from Murtagh for 4 to bring up the 100 stand in only 16 overs. With Trescothick easing into the 90s, Hildreth brought up his own half-century, his second of the season, off just 57 balls, 7 of which had crashed into the boundary boards, while 1 cleared them. Nick Gubbins had dropped something of a sitter to give him a life, though, on 49. Nothing was going right for Middlesex, in fact. Twice in the same Stephen Finn over, 4 byes were conceded, as extraordinarily the run rate was maintained at around 5 per over. Trescothick reached his 100 off 129 balls with 19 fours and a 6, while Hildreth was quickly heading towards his with another host of boundaries. This 6 had him gallivanting into the 80s. Once in this kind of mood, Trescothick can be very difficult to stop. It didn't matter whether he was facing the pace of Finn or the spin of Rayner, the result was often the same as the former England man took his tally of runs scored from boundaries alone into 3 figures. These two were hardly running a marathon as they brought up their 200-run partnership in 38 overs. When they had to run between the wickets, they did it with intent, and it all meant that Hildreth was raising his bat on reaching 3 figures of 119 balls. He'd struck 14 fours and 2 sixes and had, in a session and a half on the opening day of this fixture, already given Middlesex an awful lot to do just to stay in touch with their hosts. It really became a little worrying for the visitors, who can't have expected anything like this punishment when they won the toss to have a bowl first in helpful conditions, the weather cool and overcast. Yet these two batsmen made batting look ever so easy as they carried their wonderfully entertaining partnership to 261 off 290 balls. Not a bad effort even in a one-day game, never mind day 1 of 4. But Middlesex were given something to smile about on the stroke of tea as Trescothick on 140 for once failed to time a shot off Voges and hold out to Harris, who held on brilliantly. It had been some knock though. So tea was taken with a total already on 317 for 3, and Jim Allenby now joined in the fun, top-edging Finn for a 6. Hildreth, who like Trescothick had made the most of a very short boundary towards the retirement flats, resumed his knock on 132 and was to go on to record his best score for 3 years. The way it was heading, Somerset were going to be closing in on 500 before the day was through. That was on the cards as Hildreth eased to his 150 with a couple off James Franklin, who was making his Middlesex debut, having given up on an international career. The batsman had needed 178 deliveries to get to this mark. He had by now struck 24s and 2 sixes, and as it turned out, it was only a collapse which perhaps prevented him from getting many more. It was Harris who turned this game late in the day. With a very old ball, he had Allenby taken behind for 23. Alex Barrow followed in the all-rounders next over, another edge, this time carrying into the hands of Rayner. Peter Trigo was also out for a duck as Harris made it 3 in 3 overs, Voges with the catch in the slips on this occasion. Harris then bagged his first 5-wicket haul for Middlesex in his next over to remove Hildreth for 187, and then Finn gave Voges more work to do as Tim Groenewald became the 4th man of the innings to depart without troubling the scorers. Lewis Gregory then chipped a ball from Murtagh to Finn at mid-off to go for 5, while Abdurrahman was the 5th man to go for a duck as Somerset slipped from 377 for 3 to 408 all out, Harris finishing with the fine figures of 5 for 83. Gubbins and Sam Robson safely negotiated the remaining 4 overs in knocking off 10 runs, the post-tea session very much belonging to the visitors, who thanks to Harris are still in this game.